With the recent conclusion of the Diamond is Unbreakable anime, the question everyone's asking is when will Vento Arreo be getting its turn to be animated? I'm sure with the coming months we'll receive some sort of news or announcement from David Productions, maybe even an earlier than expected teaser trailer if we're lucky. But to answer the question simply, we'll know when we know. Today, we are going to be talking about why JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, Vento Arreo, needs an anime adaptation. So besides the obvious fact that it's JoJo and that all of JoJo deserves to be animated, there are some other reasons. It's clear that some parts of JoJo have the possibility to be portrayed better animated than their manga counterparts. With how bizarre some of the stand abilities are in JoJo, it can be difficult to follow some of the fight sequences while reading the manga. For example, when reading a fight like the Jumping Jack Flash arc, there are moments where it can be pretty difficult to follow and you really have to stop and ask yourself, what the fuck is happening right now? And you have to think that this would probably be better if it was in motion. But other fights in JoJo, like the True Man's World arc, flow perfectly from panel to panel, and while reading you almost forget that you're reading a manga as your eyes bounce from one page to the next as the art appears to be in motion. So when it comes to Part 5, most of the fights in the part would objectively benefit from being in motion, with battles involving stands like Soft Machine, Oasis, King Crimson, and Epitaph, which seem to struggle being portrayed in the manga format to most readers, as King Crimson's abilities have become the most disputed amongst the community and new readers, as the most common translations floating around the internet have very poor and overcomplicated explanations of the ability. And speaking of poor translations, for the Western English community, Part 5 has the lowest quality scans and translations of all of the parts of JoJo, and with the poor translations, some of the most memorable characters in the part like Bruno and Mista lose their personality that really makes them as characters. So other than characters losing their personality, poor translations come with plenty of other problems like unmemorable and less than impactful moments that would otherwise be interpreted and reacted to differently if the translations were done correctly. But this is just translation issues and can be solved by reading the seemingly hard to find newer translations out there for Part 5. So as for people who recently got into the JoJo manga within the past year or so, I would say, we're thankfully treated to most of the parts of JoJo having clean and colored scans courtesy of JoJo's Colored Adventure. But of course, except for Part 5. As of right now, JoJo is available to read in color except for Parts 5 and 8, although Part 8 is being colored right now and they have the first 2 volumes done. I know that is a bit much to bring up the fact that you can't read it fully in color, but after reading Part 4 in color like most people, it was a bit disappointing to go back in black and white, especially with some of the more chaotic battles like Oasis when you're following a character that's moving in and out of underground. When I mentioned earlier that some fights are objectively better portrayed in motion while animated, when it comes to Part 5, it's a good majority of them. Considering that Part 5 is one of the most combat-heavy parts in all of JoJo, and our characters are always on the move from one deathmatch to the next, and it would really benefit from an anime adaptation, much more than say the recent Diamond is Unbreakable adaptation, as fights from Part 4 involving stands like Killer Queen, Heaven's Door, Crazy Diamond, and plenty more are much easier to follow and enjoy in manga format rather than some of the messier stands from Part 5, like Gold Experience, Man in the Mirror, Babyface, and once again, plenty of others. And you just can't deny that it would be amazing to see all of those Part 5 fights beautifully animated by David Productions. So obviously different cultures like different things, but in Japan, the JoJo community's favorite part is by far Part 5, and when it comes to the English community, I would say most people's favorite parts are around 7 or 4, although Part 5 does have its fair share of fans in the West, and that's usually people who have read the newer translations or reread the entire part. So Part 5 really is special, as it would greatly benefit from an anime adaptation much more than say either Part 7 or 8 would in JoJo. And this is especially for the Western and English reading and speaking audience who have struggled with the poor translations and poor scans for Part 5. And I really think that if we experience Part 5 in the same way that the Japanese community did, it would be a fan favorite over here in the West as well. And I am just waiting for this anime adaptation so everyone who said they disliked Part 5 can jump on the bandwagon and consider it one of their favorite parts, if not their favorite. So I hope that people don't interpret this video as me saying that the Part 5 manga is bad or that it isn't enjoyable, because that's not true. And even on my first read-through of Part 5, with the bad translations, I still considered it my favorite part at the time of completing it. And in all seriousness, no manga really needs an anime adaptation, but in general, anime adaptations are always welcome as long as they are done right and they make for a healthy and active community. And this video is just some of the reasons why I believe JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5 could really use an anime adaptation, specifically for the Western and English-speaking audience. Also, briefly before in the video, I mentioned King Crimson's ability, and I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but I just want to say that I feel like the best interpretation of King Crimson's ability was in the PlayStation 2 game in your first encounter with Diavolo while you're playing as Bucciolati. I won't spend too much time explaining it, but I'll just show you guys briefly what the ability looked like in motion in the game.
信じられない。何が望みなのだ。命はもらった。それエンガル。冷ましたのなら。奴があの状態をすると攻撃を返されてしまう。命はもらった。命はもらった。ここまでだ。
So in that game, there's about 3 different ways that they portray the ability, and I just think that this is the best one that explains it the best. So thank you guys for watching this video, and those are just some of the reasons why I believe Part 5 really needs an anime. Like the video if I fought your boredom, or if you agreed with anything I said. Subscribe for more videos. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed. And in the meantime, let's just pray to David Production for Part 5.